Hey guys, welcome back. In lessons 1 through 7, we went through the beginning stages of the acquisitions process. Today, we're going to be going over a little bit of goals and growth, continuing to track your acquisitions process, closing deals, and a little bit of money management. So what to do with your money after you've closed and funded. Right now, we're about 2/3 of the way through the wholesale process. We started with generating leads. And our last 2 lessons were about the seller appointment, meeting the seller and getting the contract signed, and what to do with the contract after it's signed, right? So we're going to send it to the title company. And that's kind of where we left off, is with documents. Let's go ahead and recap everything we've done so far. We've chosen our marketing campaign, whether that be an inbound or an outbound campaign. Remember, inbound marketing campaigns typically cost a little bit more in money, but less in time. And outbound campaigns typically are more time consuming, but less costly. So we've started generating leads from our marketing campaign, and they're starting to flow into our database. Well, after we have the leads, now we're going to start analyzing them. The first thing we're going to do is generally run ARV, estimate what rehab could be, and then get an offer range. So that way, when we call the seller back or pre-qualify the seller, we can give them an offer range on the phone, right? So we're going to walk through their property condition and their motivation and their timeline. And then eventually when we get to price, that's the biggest pre-qualifier. If you can give an offer range on the phone before you go out to the appointment, the chances of you getting that seller under contract at the appointment is much greater, because you already know that the seller is motivated. You're just going to the appointment to verify the condition, meet with the seller, and really build more of that rapport in person. So we're generating leads, we're analyzing leads, and we're submitting offers. And then we're going to go meet the seller at the appointment, right? We're going to check out the property condition. We're going to have our scope of work. We're going to be taking pictures. We're going to be asking the seller questions that really align with our original cold calling script, right? We're just reestablishing their motivation, reestablishing their timeline, and prepping for our presentation. So when we sit down with the seller at the kitchen table or couch, we are confident because we have a process, and it's not like we're just going into this acquisitions appointment blind. You know what your 5 steps are, and you have a goal, and you know how to walk the seller through this, right? So you and the seller have agreed on a sales price, and you filled out the contracts, you filled out all those extra documents, and now you take those documents and you send them to title. Say, hi, my name's Alexis with Gypsy Endeavors. We are opening title on 123 Main Street. Please make sure that I'm your direct point of contact for this transaction, as I am the wholesaler and need to manage the buying and selling parties, right? So you want to make sure that your title company knows to reach out to you. They've opened title and they're starting to prepare the title commitment. In this time, you are starting to market the property. Maybe you have a one-time showing for investors to come out to the property, bring their contractors, walk through and submit bids, or potentially you have investors that are willing to buy sight unseen just from the pictures and videos that you've taken. And let's just say that you've got a property and you've marketed it to 500 investors and 5 of them bid on it, right? So now you take these 5 bids and look and see who's the most qualified, right? And you can start pre-vetting their lenders and checking their cash sources. And then after that, you pick an investor and then you sign your backside contracts with them, whether that be an assignment or your double closing. All right, so your backside contracts are signed. Now it's just up to you, title, the investor, and the seller all communicating with each other, making sure that all of the last minute documents have their I's dotted and their T's crossed before closing. The title company is going to reach out to you, ask for a wire authorization form, right? You're going to give them your bank information, and at closing, you can either go pick up a check or that's when you get your wire. Same thing for the seller. The seller's going to get their proceeds, you're going to get your proceeds, and the investor is going to close on the property and they're going to start that rehab process. But in order for all of this to happen, you have to make sure that you are tracking your data and tracking yourself And I make such a big deal about data because especially us as women like to make a whole lot of drama and a lot of excuses as to why we're not doing things or as to why we don't have the time to be doing something. But if you take the drama out of it and you take emotion out of it and you just look at the cold hard facts and look at your data, if there's goose eggs every day of the week, then you know it's not a business problem. It's not a marketing problem. It's a you problem. And that's why I harp on data so much, because it really does make you take self-responsibility for your actions, right? And at the same time, if we track our different KPI metrics through our funnel, then we'll know exactly where we need work within our funnel. Okay. So if we're making all these calls and we're not getting in contact with anybody, is our data bad? Are the numbers that we're getting back from our skip tracer bad? Is our phone number marked as spam and nobody's just getting our calls because everything's coming up as spam likely, you know? So if you're having a hard time getting in contact with people, you know that it's your data and it's not you, right? Or if you're not getting in contact with anybody because you're just not making the calls, then you know it is you, right? So let's just say that our number was marked as spam. Well, we're able to correct that problem, get a new phone number, and start our marketing campaign again. So we're finally able to get in contact with these sellers. Well, how's our conversion with out of everybody that we contact? Are they a pre-qualified lead? Maybe our marketing campaign, our list, we didn't target right, or potentially we are using wrong verbiage in our campaign. If we're able to get in contact with people and we're just hearing no, 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 then maybe it's time to potentially switch to a different market or target a different audience. Let's pretend that we switched up our marketing campaign. Instead of pulling homeowners that currently live in their property, maybe we switch to absentee, out-of-state homeowners, and we start cold calling them. And now we're getting better numbers from that list. And people are starting to say, yeah, I've thought about selling. Well, great. That's when you start pre-qualifying, okay? How do you pre-qualify better? You submit your offer range over the phone before going out and meeting them in person, right? So you've submitted your offer range over the phone and now you're out there, and how are you in person? Are you able to analyze a property? Are you able to handle negotiations with an out-of-state owner and a tenant that's in state that stopped paying rent? Like, are you able to evict potentially and help the seller through that process? There's so many different little things that can occur with these distressed properties, because remember, you're in the distressed property niche, distressed homeowner niche. Sometimes there's issues that come up and you just have to be prepared for that, okay? So make sure that your presentation is good. Let the seller know that no matter what, that you can handle it. You can walk them through it. So, you know, take a step back. If they feel like, if you need to baby them through it, baby them through it. Make sure that you have their full confidence and trust going into it, because at the end of the day, that's all that really matters. Okay, so we've done the presentation. The seller knows, likes, and trusts you and decides, yep, we can do business together. Okay, at that point, now it's time for us to get to work and start marketing the property. Okay, we're gonna market it out, start talking to investors, get bids in, get a backside contract signed. Remember that there's an additional fall through rate here. My best tip for you here is just make sure that you pre-qualify your buyer's lender. If they're using hard money, contact the hard money company. If they're using private money, reach out to their source. If they say that they have cash in the bank, send me your statement. You know, just make sure that you're always protecting yourself and the seller. So that is a lot to do, right? So how are we going to baby step our way through this and get this deal signed within the next 90 days? We're going to start with the lead generation process. And then we're going to go into the acquisitions process. And then we're going to go into the dispositions. So lead generation is your marketing campaign. This is where you're starting to collect data, pre-qualify leads, analyze them, and submit offers. So in the first month, all we're going to be doing is focusing on getting those 2,000 leads. That's 500 leads a week. How are you going to do that? Are you going to pull a list? Are you going to drive for dollars? What's your campaign? Are you going to target on Facebook or Google? How are you going to generate these leads? Okay, so that's lead generation. Step 2 is acquisitions. Month 2. In month 2, this is where we change over into our acquisitions process. So we did all of the work to get the leads, right? And now in month 2, we're really nurturing these leads. We're continuing to follow up with the leads that are in our database while we're not stopping our original campaign. We're continuing to drive for dollars. We're continuing to cold call. We're continuing to following up with leads. But now our main focus here this month is appointments. So let's say that our goal is getting 1 appointment a week, right? So if we go on 4 appointments and we lock up 2 of those contracts, and then we've got 1 that closes, there you go. So we've generated 2,000 leads. Now we're going on 4 appointments, 1 appointment a week. Potentially you've worked it into your schedule where you're still able to do your marketing campaigns, follow up, and go on appointments. So we've gone on our 4 appointments. We've got 2 properties under contract. So within this 90-day process, you've gone through everything, every single step, generating leads, skip tracing, analyzing properties, submitting offers, following up, running appointments, getting the agreement signed, sending the agreement to title, marketing, getting bids, submitting the backside contracts to title, and then finally closing and funding. Holy moly, this is so much going on, but I promise you, you can do it if you break it down in these little steps and you don't overwhelm yourself. Don't overwhelm yourself with step 3, getting investors, or be mad at yourself when you're not going on seller appointments, when you're not even doing the first step, which is generating leads and submitting offers. Also, please don't beat yourself up if you do not do this whole process within 90 days. This is just an outline of how it can be done. Gosh, I've heard stories of people saying that it took them a year plus to get their first deal under contract, a year plus of continuously marketing and cold calling, and just, I don't want that to be you. And that's why I'm stressing so much that you're tracking your numbers, because I promise you this process, this system, it works. It works, but it only works if you work. So in the next 90 days, this is your template. And now with me, just pretend that we are 90 days later and we're jumping into the new quarter. And we've got this check in our hand, right? We've closed the deal. Everything that we've worked so hard for, we've got the money. Now what? An analogy that I had recently heard is money is like an app on your phone. If you don't use it, if you don't play the game right, you won't reap the results. It's not about how much money you make. It's about what you do with your money after you've acquired it. So, some interesting statistics about real estate professionals in retirement. 5%, not 1%, 5% of real estate professionals will retire with generational wealth. Okay, so this means that they have over a $5 million net worth, and they've got cash flowing assets to pass down to the next generation when they pass away. Right? They generally have this all written out in a will, covered by insurance. Okay, that's 5% of real estate professionals. Now, 15% of real estate professionals, they're comfortable. Okay, they might have $1 million net worth. Their house might be paid off. They've got some stuff in savings. They're able to go on vacations. They're able to live a very comfortable lifestyle. Maybe their house will be passed down to the next generation. They live a very comfortable lifestyle. Okay, they're able to maintain their lifestyle through retirement. 80% of real estate professionals have to work for money after the age of 65, or they're dependent on a family member or government entity to subsidize their lifestyle. What are the main differences between these three groups? I'll tell you. It's the way they utilize their little soldiers, their monies. Okay. How do they allocate their money? 80% of real estate professionals do it like this. They get a check. The check goes straight into their personal account. And then they start spending. Money just starts flying. Well, if this is you, you're not alone. I want you to know that you're not alone, but there is a solution and there's a better way for this. I would like to personally thank you for not having an LLC and paying out the ass in taxes. And then I would like to invite you to stop doing that. Okay. Set up your LLC, reach out to your accountant, to your CPA, get online, get on eFile, and just form your LLC. So let's just say that we did all of that work for the past 90 days and we got our $10,000 check. We got our $10,000 check from the title company where it got wired into our account, into our personal account. And now we're starting to pay off debt and liabilities and living expenses and our wants and our needs and all these little things that we've been thinking about. Oh my gosh, I'm about to close this deal. What am I spending my money on? And it goes out the window before it's even there, right? So what can we do instead of this? Again, I want you to know that you're not alone. If this is you, 80% of real estate professionals do this. It is not your fault. I'm here right now to teach you just a little bit of financial literacy and what you could and what you should do with your money after you close the deal. So instead of getting our check and it just going straight into our personal account, what we're going to do is we're going to get our check. We're going to get incorporated. We're going to set up a business account. We're going to get our check and it's going to go into this business account. And from here, from your business account, this is kind of your main hub at this point. You want to make sure that you're taking a portion of that check and putting it in your tax account, leaving some of it for your business account. And also, you're paying yourself because you are an employee of your business, right? You're taking out a salary or potentially commission from your check. So check comes in and then we divvy it out. Uncle Sam has to get paid. We have business expenses and we spend money throughout the month on food, groceries, eating out, utilities, just other expenses. So it sounds like now we might need to have a budget. The problem is when we have a $10,000 check, we really think we have $10,000. We forget most of the time is that we still have to pay taxes. And if we don't start saving for it now at the end of the year, when you get your tax bill, you're going to be like, holy crap, where am I supposed to come up with all this money from? Well, I'm telling you now, if you set money aside from it and you put it in a separate tax account at the end of the year when your CPA is going back through it, potentially you can even get a dividend or a refund. Budgets are not scary. They are not supposed to be scary. They're not supposed to be overwhelming or a stressor. They're supposed to be an outline for you, knowing what you're doing moving forward so that you can also track your money, right? So the way that I like to break down budgets is into 3 different categories: bills, utility bills, and cash. Okay, so your bills are your monthly recurring expenses, right? So you potentially, if we're talking about a home, this would be our rent, car insurance, mortgage, our car payments potentially. Our utility bills are going to be our gas, water, electric, just our monthly recurring bills that potentially shift a little bit throughout the months. All right, so we've got bills and utility bills. We know that these 2 categories right here, if we stop paying them, we're going to be in trouble. But our last expense, or our last category, cash, this right here, we can be flexible on this throughout the month, okay? So maybe we need to reevaluate how much we're spending or how much we're allocating in a budget for particular areas of our life. We can do the same thing for business. We can break this down between bills, utility bills, and cash. Our CRMs, our systems, our virtual assistants, our cold call campaigns, our marketing campaigns, if we're spending money on gas and we have our toll tag linked to our account. There's so many things that add up throughout the month. We want to make sure that we're tracking it so we know how to allocate our money. So let's just pretend that we get our $10,000 check and we've got good money habits now. Okay, so we're going to take that $10,000 check and deposit into our bank account. The very first thing that you're going to do is take 33% of that check and put it in a tax account. Because Uncle Sam wants 1/3 of that shit, okay? Just go ahead, move it over, and do not touch it until the end of the year when your CPA and you are going over your taxes at the end of the year. So the first thing you're gonna do, $10,000 in, 33%, gone. It's not there, it's gone, okay? So now we've got $6,700 to work with from our $10,000 check. Where are we allocating that money? How are we dividing that up? Potentially we're splitting it in half. Where are we spending our money? Where is it going? This is why having a budget, a home and a business budget, is so important, because when you get checks in, now you're dividing it into 3 different groups: your tax account, your business account, and your home account. So with this example, with our $10,000 check, we're putting $3,300 into our tax account. We're keeping $3,300 in our business account, and we're paying ourselves $3,300 for our home account from this one transaction. If you do this starting with your first deal, if you start practicing good money habits, I promise you, you will have fantastic money habits and you will build generational wealth. This is what 5% of real estate professionals do with their money. This is how they're able to create generational wealth, build up their assets, and retire without ever having to worry about working a day in their life again. And here's the template on how to do so. Okay, so your check comes in, it goes into your business account. From your business account, you know that the first thing you're going to do is transfer your money into that tax account, 33%, bye-bye. And now we have a really realistic idea of what our business expenses are. So we're going to leave that money in our business account. The money left over, instead of transferring it into our personal account, we might start with transferring it into what I like to call a home hub. So maybe from your hub, it looks like this. You've got a home account. Well, how much money do you spend every month? This is where you kind of pay yourself as if you were an employee. Transfer money into your home account. Make sure that all your bills and all your expenses are covered. Maybe your goal is to buy up some real estate. So out of every deal you close, you put 5% of that commission check into your real estate bucket. Or maybe you're really interested in the stock market. So you put $100 in the stock market, whatever that looks like with your personal life. This is just an example. This is a blueprint. So take this blueprint and make it yours. So pretend like your personal hub is a bucket. Okay. It's another funnel. And all of this rain, all of this money is just draining down into your personal hub. Well, your personal hub has holes at the bottom. And there's other buckets down here. These are all your different accounts. So if your personal hub is collecting all of your money to divvy out to the rest of your buckets, where are you putting your money? We want to make sure that we're really dividing our money up and have a specific plan for each dollar that comes in. Is it paying down debt? Is it saving? Is it saving for investing? Where is our money going? So just for an example, let's say that your utility bill is your marketing campaign. So you're spending $520 a month in marketing campaigns. That's your utility bill. That can fluctuate. You can add or remove from that. But maybe a monthly bill is Mojo, the dialer, to call that marketing campaign. And then maybe your utility bill is dependent on how many leads you send to your skip tracer, right? And then all these different little systems that add up for your business What are your monthly expenses? Can you break them down to utility bills, bills, and cash? So just for this example, let's pretend like our monthly business expenses are about $1,000 a month. Breaking down fantastic money habits and how we would allocate our money, potentially it could look something like this. You get a $10,000 check, 33% automatically goes into your business account. Maybe you divide the rest of that check into two. So now you're sitting with $6,700 again, right? Well, you leave $3,300 in your business account, transfer the other $3,300 into your personal hub. Maybe you put almost all the money in your home account and leave a little bit for real estate and give yourself a little bit of cash. Maybe you're not even investing in the stock market right now. Maybe your chart looks a little bit different, but I just want you to start getting in the habit of dividing up your money like this and consciously making a decision each time that you swipe your card, go to check out, that you're making a conscious decision whether you really want, need, and like what you're purchasing. So just breaking down that model, how long can you go between deals? What's your home budget? What's your business budget? The best place to start is by printing off your last 3 months of bank statements, looking at all your receipts and highlighting them, going through and categorizing all of your expenses between bills, utility bills, and cash. Is there any extra money in there to save or save to invest? Do you have a spend too much or don't make enough problem, or maybe a little bit of both? Regardless, you'll have the perfect formula moving forward for you. You'll know exactly how much you need to satisfy your business expenses to continue living your lifestyle or elevate your lifestyle. Going back to this example right here, if you have $1,000 in business expenses and you know from this check that you just closed, you're allocating $3,300, well, then I would look at it and say, you have enough money to last you the next 3 months. You don't want to get that check and blow it. So when you get these checks in, I don't want you to have the mindset of, okay, let's just go blow this money. No, let's make a plan for it. Let's look at where you've been to see at where you are, see where you want to go and how we can grow. Because if you just start getting these checks in and you're like, okay, great, now we're closing 8 transactions a year and we've got an additional $80,000, and you just blow an additional $80,000 each year because you're just blowing checks, you're going to be real confused in 5 years when you look back, go, where's all my money? Boo, you spent it. So just get in the money habits now of really allocating your soldiers into the right places. So I want to ask you, is the formula, is the blueprint that you came up with, does it match your budget and is it scalable? So let's just pretend that we're running a cold call campaign and we have committed to working 20 hours a week on our cold call campaign. And we're closing 1 deal a quarter and our average wholesale fee is $10,000. That means that we would be bringing in as a business about $40,000 a year on a part-time schedule. Well, what if we doubled that and went to a full-time schedule, working 40 hours a week, closing 2 deals a quarter with an average $10,000 wholesale fee? Well, now we're making double that and we're making $80,000 a year. So everything that I showed you making one check at $10,000 is so scalable. This is an example of how you could allocate your money on a part-time schedule. So is your plan, budget, and KPIs scalable? Most definitely. You just have to track it. Working a part-time schedule, closing $40,000 a year in revenue, it could potentially look like this: 33% into your tax account, and maybe you just divide your personal and business expenses in half. You leave half in business and then you transfer half into your personal hub. Maybe that doesn't work for you at half right now. Maybe we have to reconfigure some numbers, but only you can know that. And you have to start with where you've been. Meticulously track this. Because when you go to a full-time schedule, if potentially you go to a full-time schedule, closing 8 deals a year with a $10,000 wholesale fee a deal, and you're making $80,000 a year as a business, well, damn, Uncle Sam's eating $26,000 of your $80,000, right? But please remember this. When you're doing your taxes at the end of the year, there are so many things in business that you can write off. So potentially you're not going to be spending $26,000 a year in taxes, or maybe you will. It all depends on how you have your business organized, laid out, structured, and who's doing your taxes. I want you to remember that wholesaling is not a hobby. It's a business. And in order to scale to the lengths that I think you want to scale to, you really have to start running your business like a CEO. And it starts with personal development, money mindset, and self-responsibility. So your homework is to review your last 3 months of expenses. Find out how much money you've earned, how much money you've spent, and what you've spent your money on. And then we're going to work together planning your next 3 months. And the best way that you're going to track this is in a Google Sheets that I provided. So let's go ahead and look at this Google Sheets real quick. So you'll find this timesheet in the Google Drive. You're going to open it up and you're going to File, Move, and then move it into your client folder. So that way you have a copy for it for your review. And what you're going to do is use this sheet as a timesheet, like punching in and out of work and writing a description of what you do each day. So that way throughout your 90 days, you really have a tracker for yourself of what's going on, right? So we're tracking our leads and we're doing our KPIs in that way. So that way at the end of your 90 days, you really have some good analytics to track and say, okay, well, this is how many days that I actually worked, and this was my total hours, and these were how many leads I got, and these were how many people I got in contact with, and these were my pre-qualified leads. And out of my pre-qualified leads, I gave 100% offers. So at the end of the 90 days, you can go back and you can look at everything that you've done, a description of your work, and you can look at how many leads you generated, how many people you got in contact with, how many pre-qualified leads you had, how many appointments you went on, how many deals you got under contract, right? All these different things. You're measuring your KPIs, but now you're also measuring yourself. You're holding yourself accountable, your date, your time in, your time out, and writing a description of everything that you worked on. So let's get to it. At this point, I hope you have a very solid understanding of the lead generation and the acquisitions process and what to do after you've closed and funded. This is your next 90 days. You've got the templates and the tools to track your data. I look forward to our next coaching call where we really nail down your daily and weekly action items to get you to your first wholesale deal. Talk to you soon.